I went into a deep dive into Hotel Transylvania, which had me up all night reading fan theories on the franchise, and I wanted to go over my favorite ones in today's video. So without further ado, grab your blankets and popcorn because here we go. Mavis isn't Dracula's daughter. The first clue was apparently in all the movies and cartoon. Mavis' ears aren't pointed, however her grandfathers both have pointed ears. So how come Mavis doesn't? There is one scene of Hotel Transylvania that explains it, but it's quick, so if you blink, you might miss it. It's the scene where Dracula tells Johnny his story of him and Martha. After he tells him the story, he says, "I built this place for my love, to protect her child."
I built this place for my love, to protect her child.
Notice how he didn't say our child or our daughter, or even said her name, Mavis. Fan seems to think this is because Mavis isn't his daughter. But then question is, how is she a vampire if she's not his daughter? Well, Martha was half human, half vampire while pregnant with Mavis. But if she's a vampire, then how did she die from the fire? Because full vampires can't die from fire. Based on the website Vampire Diaries fandom, original vampires cannot be killed with fire as mentioned by Elijah. However, when stabbed with a white oak stake, the flames produced will kill them. In Unnatural World fandom, it says one of their weaknesses is fire, which is what killed Martha and not Dracula. What seals this theory more is that the second movie is all about if Dennis is a monster or not. And if Mavis is a Dhampir who created another Dhampir, then this fully explains why no one in part 2 was sure Dennis would be a vampire or not. Dhampirs can produce children, who may themselves become Dhampirs or who may be normal humans, with a 50% chance of whether being the case. So Mavis is just a Dhampir birthed from another Dhampir. But the difference between her and Dennis is that Drac and Martha were both mostly vampire, Drac being 100% and Martha being 50%, which makes Mavis 85% vampire. But since Mavis is part human and Johnny is full human, then that makes Dennis 85% human. He still has vampire powers, but not as strong as Mavis or Dracula. Also, when Dracula tries to use his powers against the camp counselor vampire in part 2, it doesn't work. But in part 1, he easily pauses Mavis while she's singing. The camp counselor in part 2 tells Dracula that his power doesn't work on him because he's a vampire. A full vampire because of the pointed ears. But since Mavis isn't a full vampire, she gets affected easily. That also explains why she asked Dracula to erase her mind when she was sad. She knew it would work if he did, cause she is not fully a vampire. The second theory is that the sequels are all in Dennis's head. I think that the sequels are all in Dennis's head, but I get why some fans think it may not be completely. They explain that we start to see the sequels being a figment of Dennis's imagination in the middle-ish of part 2. Specifically when Mavis moves to California to figure out if California is good enough for Dennis to live. From that point on, the movie starts to feel a lot more silly. Contrast from the original that felt more serious, but part 2 feels more childlike. Like maybe Dennis made some of it up. For example, the scene when Dracula throws him off a tower, starts a whole fire, and begins to trend online doesn't seem real. And when he turns into a bat and starts fighting those large bat things that were Vlad's henchmen or something, Vlad gets involved. You're telling me then a super old vampire who burned the idea into his son's mind that humans are bad, then secludes himself in a cave with his henchmen. Things can change his mind about something racist, referring to the whole human race. Can change his mind that quick overnight. It's more believable that this is Dennis telling this story as what I did this summer to his class. But since he's a child, we're seeing the story through his eyes. That's why the sequels after part 1 feel super silly, because it's all in Dennis's mind. Part 3 is where I really think this theory shows itself more. Because why would Drac go on a cruise that's basically a hotel on the ocean? Who's watching the hotel while he's gone? Why is Van Helsing still alive? Not counting that robot body, because Van Helsing was alive in the 1800s, and I don't think humanity has such devices to make a 100-plus-year-old man alive for so long. And when Drac acted head over heels for Erica also seems to be nonsense. I mean, I don't deny he was like that with Erica, as he might have also been like that with Martha. But I believe it was far more cartoonish than he would have acted in real life, because, again, it's all in Dennis's mind. The third theory is that Vlad Dracula is actually Vlad the Impaler. Logically, how did Dracula get all that money to build the Hotel Transylvania? Being the son of a king would definitely set him up with enough money to make the Hotel Transylvania and then some. Plus, in real life, Vlad did have a son. 3 to be exact. Based on the History Press website, Mihail ruled from 1408 to 1418 as co-ruler with his father, but Romanian custom, which allowed for concubinage, meant that Vlad Dracula's bastardy did not impede him from also claiming the throne. Now, because he ruled with Vlad, that could have given him some wealth, not just from being his son, but ruling with him. And if Drac ruled with Vlad, he definitely would have gotten more than enough money to make his hotel. Although the best nail in the coffin that helps explains the theory is that the character of Dracula was inspired by Vlad the Impaler. On NBC News website it says, though Dracula may seem like a singular creation, Stoker in fact drew inspiration from a real-life man with an even more grotesque taste for blood. Vlad III, Prince of Wallachia, or, as he is better known, Vlad the Impaler, a name he earned for his favorite way of dispensing with his enemies, which means that the first Dracula, aka Drac's dad, could very well be Vlad the Impaler. The only problem is that they had been ambushed by the Ottoman Empire, who reportedly decapitated Vlad and sent his head to Sultan Mehmet II in Constantinople as a trophy. And according to Live Science, other traditional methods of killing vampires include decapitation and stuffing the severed head's mouth with garlic. Now, I don't think it's impossible for Vlad to have this done to him, but fans think he was given an ultimatum. Either get banished or killed. Vlad probably chose to be banished, which is why he's in that cave with all those bats. And when he did get banished, he noticed that Drac made a life for himself with a Dhampir and chose to stay banished because he probably missed so much that he felt left out. This next theory comes from this Reddit user from the trailer for Hotel Transylvania 4. At 102, we see one of the zombies be turned back into a human and say, "The nightmare, it's over, I'm human," before being bitten and turned back into a sad zombie.
The nightmare, it's over! I'm human again!
So are they being forced by Dracula to do his bidding? The ramifications of this makes the Hotel Transylvania series seem like Pleasure Island from Pinocchio. One thing we must make clear at first is the monsters that we consider to be Dracula's basic employees. As we see, there is a difference between certain employees, such as the head chef back in Hotel Transylvania, one Quasimodo. So who are Dracula's basic employees? In Hotel Transylvania 1, where we spend almost all the time at the hotel, we see the most basic monsters that are employees are zombies, marshals, gargoyles, witches, and potentially the tables. With this baseline on who to look at, let's find out how they are treated. Starting with the zombies, in the very first movie, we see them be ordered by Dracula to dress up as humans to scare Mavis, and when all is done, what happens? They need to pull down the fake town, and then he even refuses one of them to take a mannequin with him, something that Drac likely has no intention of using again. Just look at the sad expression on his face, being denied something so simple by Dracula, who does not care a single bit. Even after their hard work, Drac just gives them a serious face and orders them to get back to work. No thank you, no nothing. Not even the visitors care about their hard work. When they prepare everything for a wedding, it gets immediately ruined by visitors. They do so much work in this series, carrying luggage, doing the plumbing, serving dishes, acting as clowns, and more. Yet they aren't appreciated at all, constantly being disregarded and pushed around. It makes it seem that they might be the lowest of the low, as even the likes of Mr. Hyde order them what to do when he builds Dracula's hotel. With their low status and inability to speak, they make the perfect monsters to exploit and abuse by the king of monsters, Dracula, who even has them wear hotel uniforms when partying. Then we have the marshals, who are Dracula's eyes and ears of the hotel. Even though they are loyal to Dracula, they just stand around until they are needed. Even during weddings, the most action they ever got in the series was when they were ordered by Drac to stop Quasimodo. One even gets put on by Johnny and can't even protest. But most importantly, they aren't even being paid. In the first movie, one says, "He doesn't pay me." After, Drac says, "What do I pay you for?" which makes it seem more like free labor than actual employment. Then we have the gargoyles, who are supposed to be kitchen staff, but they're more loyal to Dracula, and just like zombies, they are abused by others. In this case, by Quasimodo. Even when Dracula is nearby, he doesn't stop this behavior. Over and over again, we see the same thing. The witch that compliments Drac is ignored and insulted by a doorknob. The ghost tables literally only move whenever they are ordered. Their life amounts to obeying people. Perhaps the most cruel are the shrunken head doorknobs, reduced to do Dracula's bidding and just live as a head in front of one guest's door, constantly eavesdropping and likely telling Drac any juicy information. Even then, they still don't escape his wrath, as when one begins to question Dracula, he literally sews her lips shut. Dracula is cruel to all of these employees, not appreciating anything they do for him. But why would Dracula stoop so low as to get what amounts to slaves? Well, the answer stares us in every movie right at our face. The hotel is too big for him to run it himself, so he relies on these slave monsters to do what needs to be done, and at times do other stuff like the fake town zombies. Yet to add insult to injury, he doesn't even give them holidays, at the most part. As in the third movie, we only see 3 witches, no marshals, or zombies. Sure, we see a gargoyle, but it's only one, while basically everyone from the hotel goes on the boat trip, which means there isn't even the excuse of needing staff to stay at the hotel. Just like Dracula disappearing in photos, he has been hiding his dark and twisted slavery habits to fuel his desire of running a hotel for monsters, without even paying these monsters to compensate for all the hard work they do, constantly being ignored by everyone that they meet, seen only as just workers. Another user pointed out that a zombie saying the nightmare is over might not refer to working for Dracula, but rather to the fact that being a zombie is horrible. Lack of communication skills, constant dismemberment, and other stuff that I'm sure none of us might like. The "you can't take the mannequin" isn't as much as he won't let him have something, but an adult joke, as we see the zombie was going to potentially wrestle with it, and that marshals and other employees are paid, just not with money. Remember, this is Hotel Transylvania. Monsters are scared to be out in the world. Shelter is a major issue, at least in the first movie. Zombies are way too dumb to hide in a human world, and marshals may as well be just a treasure to humans. The pay that Drac gives them is shelter, as we don't see anybody go home at the end of the day. Gargoyles were in fact abused, but that was Quasimodo and not Dracula. There was a lot more if you wanted to read up on it. I'll leave the link to these theories in the description box below, so go show these Reddit users some love. But I also want to hear from you. What is your Hotel Transylvania theory? Do you have a favorite one? How do you feel about the theories in this video? Let me know what you think, and don't forget to like and subscribe and turn on post notifications. It helps the algorithm.